Welcome back to Winners and Losers. Everybody's here. Jayar, Cenk, Michael, Dave, Rick. We're debating Cenk's idea that sports figures can be broken down exclusively into winners and losers.
Switzer versus Jimmy Johnson. Like, do you think it's just that Switzer's a bad coach? I mean, Switzer won, a national championship in college and in the NFL, right? But he took an unbelievably great team that Jimmy Johnson built and destroyed it. Just got him past the finish line and for one Super Bowl because of Neil frickin' O'Donnell, right? And then they exploded. Like,
by the way,
destroyed
I think
that team.
We can all have a Neil O'Donnell consensus.
Right, yeah, exactly, on Neil O'Donnell. But anyway,
two L's.
Do you guys think that Switzer's just a bad coach and Jimmy Johnson's a good coach? Or do you think that there's, as I do, that there's an intangible, that Jimmy Johnson knows how to win? That there's something there that makes him a winner, whereas Switzer will fumble it.
What happened in Miami to Jimmy Johnson? Like 9 and 7, 9 and 7, 9 and 7.
It's first of all, I figured it out. It's Miami. What happened to Dan Marino? What happened to Nick Saban, the best coach in college football?
What happened to
Don Shula? What happened to he was great with the Colts, won the Super Bowl with the Colts. Well, he goes to Miami, can't win.
What are you talking about?
Oh, he'd won. Never mind. Earlier on. It takes a while.
30.
Okay, anyway.
Miami in the 80s. It's cocaine Miami.
No, I'm kidding about Miami, obviously. Right. But no, and look, that goes to my point. Not every winner is going to win every game and every season and every championship. If you told me, I would have put money on Jimmy Johnson winning with the Dolphins. But he didn't stay long enough, and at some point, I think he gave up. And
look, I think Barry Switzer is clearly a great coach. I think he could if he could screw the team up in 2 years, he could have screwed that team up in 1 year. He didn't, it would appear very clearly, exhibit in any way the kind of discipline that was necessary on that team, which is a factor in whether he's a good coach or not, and that's one reason why he had to go. And significantly, he never coached anywhere else. But I mean, he clearly was a good coach. He won at Oklahoma.
Yeah, he is a great recruiter.
Well, and then there's in Dallas, stay in Dallas with Chan Gailey, a guy who I think Jerry Jones. Well, that's what I knew you were going to say. Loser. He presents as a loser. He's a guy that Jerry Jones is upset that he never gave a chance to. The Bills have hired him. He's actually done quite well with the Bills, if not unbelievably so.
He's done 6 and 10 twice.
I think that's right. But I mean, people thought it was going to be like a 1-15 season the first year. He had nothing there, and they've drafted well, and then they had their running back hitter. But here's the point. The point is that in Dallas, everybody thought that Chan Gailey should have had a shot in the first place, and then they regretted not giving him more of a shot there. So Chan Gailey, for some reason, we say is a loser, or we don't say anything about him at all. But
no, he's a loser.
Can he, as a loser, become a winner? Let's say he does well, or are you permanently cast as a loser?
Well, Joe Torre I would have permanently cast, and I was wrong about that. So of course I could be wrong, but it doesn't mean that the system is wrong. It doesn't mean that the concept is wrong. You could just be wrong about how you classify someone.
Right.
And
but don't you?
But I'm amazed that you guys don't think that there's a difference between Jimmy Johnson and Wayne Fontes. That's just outside of one is good and another one's bad.
Jimmy Johnson's a good coach and Wayne Fontes a bad
coach. That's what I'm saying. I'm amazed that you think that's all there is to it.
There's a confidence difference.
Yes, confidence makes an enormous difference. And motivating your team and knowing how to motivate them, knowing how to get them over the line so that they win.
But that's all elements of being a good coach. I'm not even sure we're actually disagreeing. I think Dave and I are saying essentially what you're saying. You're just putting a phrase on it, winners and losers.
Yeah.
I mean, Look,
let me put it this way. Wayne Fontes is never, ever going to win because he's a loser.
Oh my God.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you think that there's any chance that Wayne Fontes can ever win?
I mean, I don't think he's going to get knocked out.
I think his coaching career might be
right. Norv Turner, I'll do it ahead of time. Never going to win. Yeah. Never.
That
loser.
one's more going out on a limb. All right, that one will be tested.
I think that there is obviously a possibility, if they have enough talent there, that Norv Turner might stumble into a championship. I don't think that.
It would have to be overwhelmed. They'd have to get 3 winners to overcome how much of a loser he is. Yeah, well, look, I think Phillips is great. You'd have to put Tom Brady and just about every other winner in the league on the team.
We talked about this. Why Phillip Rivers? Why isn't Phillip Rivers a loser?
I think he is.
Well, look, but that's the beauty of this. You can debate, of course, on any particular person or coach. But I think Phillip Rivers is a guy who I've seen pull out games. I think that he's,
But all these guys have pulled out games. Everybody's had a game, their game.
Right. No, I know, but more so than the average guy. I think he's incredibly weighed down by Norv Turner. And it's hard to tell with a cloud of loserdom that Norv Turner puts over a team who's the other winners and losers because everybody's under that cloud.
Yeah.
So
that's why losers
loser coach makes it that much of a stronger emphasis on loser because he really does affect potential winners.
Yeah,
like Marty Schottenheimer, who's a great coach, but when it comes to clutch time, players will fumble for him.
No,
they'll fumble for him. They'll do unbelievable mistakes for him because he can't win.
You got to look at sample size. You can't look for science in every other part of your life and then decide to ignore science here. Marty Schottenheimer has not had enough playoff games for us to determine that he's a giant loser. He's also never had.
Well, that in and of itself might make him a loser. He's coached this long and he doesn't have that many playoff games.
Well, he's got a bunch of playoffs. He's gone to the playoff game a lot. His record in the playoffs after some big seasons.
No, what I'm saying, if the sample size of someone who's coached that long isn't large enough.
Well, no, he's gone to the playoffs many of the years.
Right,
He's got
so that's
That's another
can't be
layer to
both.
this.
No, but it's not. But that's
the Schottenheimer and Dan Reeves are terrific coaches up until the championship game, right?
Well,
That's
for
when
Schottenheimer, it's not even up till that. I mean, it's these
sometimes
disappointing
early
first
playoffs,
rounds.
sometimes it's the championship
Was
game.
Philip
With
Rivers
Reeves,
the
it was a
quarterback
Super Bowl.
for Schottenheimer's
Yes.
Charger team? It was, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And come on, look at that Schottenheimer team, right?
But how do you hold the?
They made
how do you
every
hold-
mistake
I know,
possible
and they
to
had
lose
some
that
terrible
game.
calls go against them. They had a random fumble in the middle of the field. How's that Marty Schottenheimer?
There's something about losers that permeates everything. That's the theory. And there's something about winners that permeates everything until you win.
Yeah, but when you do it with football, where there are so few games played, that obviously we know. First of all, in the playoffs, you have to acknowledge one thing in the playoffs. We talked about that October game, the random October game for Peyton Manning against the Bills, where he throws for 525 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he follows that up by beating the crap out of the Bears and the Lions. Peyton Manning, this guy's unbelievable. Well, you know what? In playoffs, he's going against Bill Belichick. And he's going against Marty Schottenheimer, and he's going against the best coaches and the best teams and the best defenses and the other best quarterback controlling the ball. That all matters. If you look just at statistics, everybody's statistics should be a little worse in the playoffs. Happens in baseball too. Can't pitch. All of a sudden, these pitchers like Greg Maddux gets into the playoffs. His numbers aren't as good in the playoffs, right?
But some people, their numbers are better in the playoffs.
Some, but
like
not
is anybody going to tell me that Joe Montana just happened to be a good quarterback? Really? I mean, you don't get a sense that guy was a winner in some intangible way.
LaDainian Tomlinson. Because you said that
I know.
said with Norv
I
Turner
know.
that his loserness affects the team.
Yeah, but that's a great example,
But
right?
so guys
Because he
who
was
break single
clearly
season records,
as
are
much
they
as I
automatically-
loved LT. He was clearly a loser in the playoffs. I mean, he was literally hiding in the playoffs. Like, oh, I'm so scared, I'm hiding. But you know what? That was Norv Turner-led team. Marty
Or was
Schottenheimer-led
facing a
team.
defense in the playoffs that was keying on LaDainian in different.
I know, but under the
Jets.
Jets, an older player
And by the way, he
with
was hurt a
talent
lot.
much
Yeah,
diminished,
Dave's right.
much stronger with the Jets because he's got a winner coach.
Why is he
Rex
a winner
Ryan's
coach?
a winner coach?
Why?
Yes,
Like, why?
he
winner
does
coach?
better than he should with the talent that he has. He motivates
There are some
them.
who think the Jets
He's-
were the most
Come on,
talented team in
anybody
football.
can be beat. When he beat the Patriots with that team, anybody can be beat. You know.
Patriots with Mark Sanchez. Yeah. I love Mark Sanchez, but they shouldn't have played that.
Yeah. All right. Last one.
Tony Romo.
No, the funny thing is, you would think he's a perfect candidate for loser because he's bumbled the snap.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Right. Yeah. Jury's out. I'm not calling it on Tony Romo because I think he's a pretty good player. I think that he's done pretty well in the playoffs.
Tony Romo's sitting at home right now, so I have to wait till I'm Don Larson's age now.
And then maybe I'll be a
No,
loser.
maybe breathe a sigh of release. He's like, oh, thanks God. He's had bad coaches throughout. I think that there's still potential for Tony Romo.
No, there's certainly still potential, but I think right now he's an absolute loser.
Right.
There's
No,
nothing
that's a
that
fair
indicates him as a
argument.
loser.
It's a fair argument about him. I just don't happen to believe that argument.
Tony Romo makes some puzzling decisions. I don't know that I'd go off and call him a loser, but Tony Romo
It's
makes
because
some puzzling.
he has a quiet confidence no matter how much he's screwed up. You go, this guy's still kind of calm. And if you still, I think that's what you're still wondering, like, he might pull it out because he hasn't freaked out yet.
But I think there's elite and there's not elite, and I think that all these guys, in one way or another, are winners. Because
I mean, did
you know,
Montana have like some great arm that others didn't? Is that what puts him in the elite category? No,
Well,
it was his mindset that put him in the elite
he also,
category.
I mean,
He
there was a new.
crazy accurate. He ran a system that
The system was
brand-
novel.
was new, and
Yeah.
the teams had a.
I thought he did
difficult-
terrific with the Chiefs. I mean, I was always
Right, but he
afraid of
wasn't-
him.
Yeah.
I know, but it wasn't the same. Wasn't even
Right.
close to the same.
Right.
He had that
and-
loser
and-
coach, didn't he,
Right.
Schottenheimer?
And that's right. Well, that was the problem. The cloud of loserdom affected even Joe Montana. Okay. And that's the thing. Look, in order to win at these professional level, you got to get everything to go right anyway. You need a couple of winners, et cetera. Or you could have a great winner and still not succeed. That's what Jerry Jones got wrong with the Cowboys. It's not that it was a Jerry Jones or was it Jimmy Johnson or Troy Aikman or Emmitt Smith. No, it was all of them, right?
Yeah.
That's what made them a dynasty, and that's what made them so great. I think Jimmy Johnson was the engine that drove that, right?
Yeah.
But they couldn't do it without him, and they probably couldn't have done it without Emmett.